Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today. So we come to our word from the word. And today that word is joy. Joy. That's nothing like seeing true joy through the eyes of a child. And you see that excitement in that picture there. But, through a child who doesn't have all the other things kind of weighing them down in life. And so when they are excited, man, they're not afraid to show it, just sheer joy. Now, most Christians today that you see don't show that kind of joy, right? Some of it, let's be honest, we've been hardened and brought down by the world and sin and by the heaviness of just life. Now, you think about if you were going to try to write a letter and try to encourage people who were being, oppressed, people who were being persecuted, and trying to get them to remember to stay true to their faith. Think about even maybe just in the past few days, past few weeks, maybe conversations that you've had with someone who was really just down in the dumps and really just needed some encouragement. And maybe they were facing different struggles, different battles, whatever the case may be. Maybe you were even on the receiving end of some encouragement in the midst of your trials and tribulations. But I want you to think about this. Anytime you're giving advice to someone who's struggling, a Christian, a believer who is struggling with whatever is going on, or maybe even you've received this encouragement as well. Have you ever noticed what ends up being at the heart of the joy that comes through that encouragement? It's not the fact that the circumstances are getting any better. It's not that the circumstances are actually going to change anytime soon. No, the joy is found in the Lord. It's found in the promises we have of the future. And as we come to the book of First Peter, the epistle of First Peter, just one of the general epistles, and I know in our Sunday services we've been talking through Second Peter, and we'll get to that obviously in just a few days. But to look at this in First Peter, he begins the letter in a way that probably many of us would encourage others, with a thought and a focus on the reason to have joy, even in the midst of difficult times. James talked about it in his letter, and now Peter begins his like this. 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 through 9 today. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who, according to his abundant mercy, has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of God through faith for salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen, you love. Though now you do not see him, yet believing, you rejoice with joy inexpressible and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Wow, I read from that passage recently in a funeral service, and what great encouragement it is for the believer to know that this is not it. Just the simple fact that as we go through life and the struggles and the pain and the suffering here on earth, that as soon as we are reminded that this is not our home, that our home is in heaven, you cannot help but smile. You cannot help but have some joy from deep down, right? I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. And as the song goes on, down in my heart to stay. And even when you try to explain it to someone, it is even as it says, joy inexpressible. It's so full, and it's so rooted in Jesus Christ and originates with Jesus Christ that even in that we still can't express it to its full extent. And even when we get to glory, let's be honest, We're going to do everything that we can then to let that joy shine and sing and bring glory and honor to Jesus Christ for all eternity. That's why he says that even now, all that we are facing, even though these trials that we are facing, that is testing the genuineness of our faith. Like gold that goes in a fire and all the impurities, you heat up gold and all the impurities come to the top and you scoop it off and you heat it up some more and you keep on going. And I love the image of the fact that, whoever the refiner is, what does he do? He continues to heat it up and wipe the dross off until he can see his reflection in it. And that's what Jesus does with us. He continues to heat us up through the trials of life and continue to get all the junk out of the way, get all the junk out of our lives, get all the sin and selfishness and bitterness, get all that out and continue on until he sees a reflection of himself. And ultimately, as he does that and he gets close while we're here on earth, ultimately, when we get to glory, we will be that perfect reflection of him. So that for all others in eternity, and even as you get to, I love the end times when you talk about what the church will do, that the church is bringing honor and glory to the groom, bringing honor and glory to the one who died for us, singing a song that the angels can't sing. You continue on in this chapter, and he says the things that the angels desire to look into, because Jesus didn't die for the angels. So we have a song that we get to sing. We have a testimony that we get to share that they cannot. And when you understand that, you understand that we are to have a joy that nobody else can have, a joy that only the Lord can give, and that no matter what our circumstances are, you've heard me say this many times. I heard it years ago, and I continue to say it, that happiness is a feeling, but joy is a choice. Now, you might still be happy because an emotion has gotten you happy and that turns into joy. But let's be honest, to have joy in the midst of your trials and troubles and in the midst of the fire, to have joy in the middle of that is not happiness. It's not necessarily a smile on your face. It can be painful and downright just heartbreaking at times. But you can still have joy, knowing that God is working all things together for his good, for those that love him and are the called according to his purpose. And we know that the enemy may have meant it for evil, but that God meant it for good. And we know that God will never leave us nor forsake us. And we know that he is working, right? He began that good work and he will see it through to completion. All those things, when you put them all together, and the fact that Jesus Christ was resurrected and is at the right hand of the Father, interceding on our behalf today, waiting to welcome us home to our inheritance in heaven that we have because we're joint heirs with Jesus Christ. There's no other joy. There's no other way to explain that joy. But when we're facing all these things, if we would focus on the Jesus, the joy, if we would focus on the joy of our salvation rather than the sorrows of our troubles, we'd be a whole lot better off here on earth. Today, where's your focus going to be? Is it going to be on your troubles, or is it going to be on Jesus? I promise you, when you focus on Jesus, there will be joy in your heart. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.